The question for this week was identify the defining characteristics of the ads in the 1920s according to Marchand from source 1. Then taken as a group, do you think the primary sources support that point, contradict that point, or lie somewhere in between? Finally, analyze 2 of the primary sources included in the chapter, 1 visual and 1 textual. For each, identify what the source is, for whom it was created, and how it supports your argument about Marchand. In source 1, Marchand points out several defining characteristics of the ads in the 1920s. The central point that he points out is that the ads shifted from being product-centered to consumer-centered. The way that many of these ads were portrayed almost made the products seem that they were a solution to consumers' problems. Printer's Ink showed how people instead of the product became the main focus of the advertisements in their way of soliciting potential customers. Instead of using products in their advertisements, advertisers use scripted protagonists to lure potential customers into buying their products. Advertisers went by the motto, to sell goods we must sell words, in fact we must sell life, and believe that unsolvable problems may exist in the society but they are non-existent in the world glimpsed through advertisements. After reading through Chapter 6 and analyzing different sources, as a group we strongly agree that the primary sources supported Marchand's point and can see how advertisers took advertising to a whole new level. Evidence to support our opinion can be seen in source 3, which was an advertisement for Listerine. For years, Listerine was advertised for exactly what it was, which was mouthwash. However, once the 1920s rolled around, the company induced the public to discover a new need for its product. On the ad in page 151, we see a picture of a girl sitting in the corner who appears to be unhappy with the happy couple right behind her. In the picture, we see the word halitosis, unpopular, and just piecing everything together. The company is basically sending the consumer a message that if you don't use their product, you'll have bad breath and be forever alone and unpopular, even if you have all the money in the world. No one wants to be any of that, so the consumer, who can probably relate to the model, is tricked into buying the product. Evidence can also be seen in source 8, which goes into psychology and advertising and how the advertisers appear to the consumers, appeal to that consumers in that era. One quote from it states, "A current advertisement takes advantage of the psychological situation and makes the most clever appeal to possible purchasers." This source is an example of how advertisements can change people from wanting something to thinking they need it. The ads were made to convince the consumer that they could not live without the product. Scott also goes into detail about how many of these companies convince consumers to buy, even if the quality of their goods did not seem to be so important as the prestige given by the possession of the goods. This may suggest that people who were seeking prestige and status were especially affected by these new techniques.